Hey, good morning, happy birthday. And you'd say, hold it, it's not my birthday. Well, it is your birthday. And here's the reason why. When our founding fathers invented what our country would be, they decided that our country, America, would not be a monarchy, wouldn't even be a democracy. We think that our country is a democracy, but we are actually one step up from that. We are what's called a republic. The difference in a democracy, the majority always prevails. We have a vote, and if the majority picks a certain way to go, then that's the way we go. In a republic, first of all, we own the country. We the people. You and I own America. Now, when you think about how there's so much talk these days about rights, I have the right to do that. My rights are important. I have the right to do as I well please. Interestingly enough, our founding fathers wanted to remind us that we did have rights. We had rights to speak out. Did you know before we had our Bill of Rights, when our founding fathers were under the rule of Great Britain, if you stood on a street corner or you got in front of any kind of a public place and started, speaking your heart, if it was not something that the government liked, they would take you, arrest you. Maybe they would put you in some sort of a contraption where you're out publicly and they see your heads through a wall, your arms are all up like this. They did not have the right of speech, of free speech. So we have that right. But interestingly enough, we also have, and our founding fathers tried to promote this ideal even more, the right of responsibility. And when you're given the right to do something, you've got a responsibility to do it in the right way. And folks, most that I'm seeing, now, in all fairness, maybe the groups that the news media is covering, maybe they're just trying to cover the ones that bring about the most news. So there might be proper freedom marches or talks or gatherings. They may be everywhere, but they're not necessarily showing those to us on the TV. Instead, we see people pushing through barriers, throwing rocks or bottles or things at the police officers. We see them trying to take over buildings. Folks, that's not a right. That's not a right that we have here in our America. And I still can't believe how anybody could say, I'm mad, I'm just gonna go smash up a building. And maybe the owner of that building may be in every way agreeing with wherever your stand is, and they go and destroy your building, smash out your windows where you can't do business. It blows my mind that our leaders, some of our local leaders, mostly, are just saying, well, let's just let the people vent. How long are we going to vent before, everything is broken down or destroyed? But back to the topic. This is we the people, and we are a republic. So we have this birthday because each of us is celebrating the birth date of something that we own. And so we're just like we would be celebrating a family member or our home or our something that we're very proud of, how long we've had it, a pet, let's say, just like that. We own America. Now, so we want to be proud today And we also want to, well, think about the condition of our country. And by the way, today all across America, my radio program, which is called United We Stand, and of course the other second part of that phrase is divided we fall. And that's something that Abraham Lincoln had said, and I believe it's so absolutely true. And the more divided that we get, the further we fall. So today is the day that my program is airing. And if you get an opportunity to tune into your own local radio station. But even though the program is airing all across the country, we can't know exactly the time. Some are airing on Friday, some on Saturday, some on Sunday. Some even talked about airing it on Monday, which is great, but we don't know when. So what we've done is we've put the audio program up on our website. And the website to get to the site is I was getting ready to give you the old one, JerryStewartUSA.com. JerryStewartUSA.com. And you'll be able to see in the upper left-hand corner that it asks you if you want to listen to the program. I would advise you and encourage you to get your family together, the children, the grandchildren, and sit and listen to the program. I have people who tell me that their children love, somehow they think, when I start talking like Gomer Pyle, they kind of like my voice and they like the stories. And I try my best not to get into a lot of really deep historical pieces that confuse people with a lot of the facts, but to stay more talking about the people. Now, what I thought I would do for the next number of days and maybe even a week or so is I thought that I would begin sharing with you my book, Saving America. And it says below what we must do now to save our off-track nation. And so I thought it would be good to be able to, go through one short chapter and to maybe take, 4 minutes, let's say. And let me share with you what I mean when I say off track. And you're going to notice that I'm going to have a series of points, what I call them off track points. And I'd be interested to hear if you agree, if you disagree. You can get back with me by responding to this little bit I'm putting out here, or you could even send me an email at JerryStewartUSA.com. JerryStewartUSA@gmail.com. Wow, there's so many things to remember. JerryStewartUSA@gmail.com. You could even buy a copy of the book. It's $9.95. And look at this. It's a very small book. When I wrote the book, I got together with a group of people and I was especially asking the adult men, when's the last time you read a book? And they go like, never. It's been years since I've read a book. And I said, why? And they say, well, I just don't have time. It's too long. There's too many words. It's too much of a commitment. I've got things to do. So even though my publishers were against the idea of a small book, they said, Jerry, that's not a book, that's a booklet. So, even though they advised me to make it a book, at least maybe 150 pages, I purposefully made it 85 pages, and the printing is big. So the reason I'm telling you this is because this is something that you could actually have your children read. There's nothing in here that's offensive. There's nothing in here that's like drawing a line in the sand and saying, follow this or else. It's nothing like that. It's just talking about the things that are going on in our world and in our country and what we need to do to save our nation. So, if you'll bear with me, we're going to have a little bit of the book. As I said, it's going to be maybe 4 minutes, maybe 3-4 minutes. And Kelly, how about you focus on something beautiful like Mount Rushmore, and I'll read the first chapter of the book. Now stick with me. This may sound like it's going to be boring, but I don't think it's going to be. Of all the people that have read the book, thousands and thousands of copies sold, I haven't had one person who said, wow, boring, or wow, I don't agree with you. Not one single person. Okay? So here we go. Saving America, Chapter 1. What's going to happen to America? Everybody has an opinion, but which opinion is right? Well, it's been a number of years ago that I was listening on a New Year's Eve to Late Night Talk on the radio, and they invited listeners to weigh in with their own predictions of what was going to happen in the new year to come. Interestingly enough, most of the opinions have to do with this, global warming, nuclear war, terrorist attacks in the U.S., and a number of things like that. But nobody talked about the moral condition of our country. And whether you believe it or not, I think we all would believe that our country is in a declining mode. And I'm not blaming it on COVID. I'm not blaming it on anything like that. I'm talking more about over the last since I was a boy, let's say maybe the last 30, 40 years, that our country has been in a moral decline. So why do people think that bad times are ahead? It's because deep in our very souls, we know that our America, our nation, is way off track. We have lost our compass, and as a nation, so many are looking for solutions in all the wrong places. And me, what do I think? I think we in America are at a serious crossroad. And whichever road we choose to take will determine the destiny and the future existence of our nation. But there is one thing that I do absolutely know. Our only hope to save this America we all know and love is to, as a nation, turn back to God. And if we, the people, want to stay on the right road and help make a better America, it will only be with God's help. Now, am I the first person to have ever said that? Of course not. People all across America today, the large majority of patriotic Americans, believe that we must get our country back on track and that it can only be done with God's help. Now, let me tell you a powerful story. Let me read you the powerful story of one perfect example of how desperately we need God's help. Our founding fathers discovered that. It was patriot Benjamin Franklin in 1787, in the middle of the Constitutional Congress. In a speech, he said this: "Sirs, I have lived a long time, and the longer I live, the more convincing proofs I see of this truth, that God governs in the affairs of men. And if a sparrow cannot fall to the ground without his notice, it is probable that an empire cannot rise without his aid." Now, Benjamin Franklin believed that our new free America could only be successful as a nation with God's help. And in that same speech, he went on to say that he had been assured, and we can be assured, in the sacred writings he calls the Bible. "Except the Lord build a house, they labor in vain that build it." That's Psalms 127:1. Now, Benjamin Franklin believed that not only did we need God to help us build America, more than that, he believed that without God, we could not build America. And how did our nation's leaders respond to Franklin's statement regarding our great need for God in America? You say, they threw him out on his ear. They told him they would not allow God to lead our nation, that would somehow take away from our American citizens freedom of religion. You think that's what they said? Actually, no. Instead, when Franklin finished his speech, the delegates of that Congress sat for a moment silent. Then up stepped James Madison, who today is known as the chief architect of our U.S. Constitution. He moved that Franklin's appeal for national prayer be established. His motion was seconded by Edmund Jennings Randolph of Virginia, who further moved, a sermon be preached at the request of that convention on the 4th of July, the anniversary of our nation's independence, and that prayers be offered every day to Almighty God at the beginning of each of their meetings. Did you know that? Did you know that they almost did not invent and make the instruction booklet for our America that we call our Constitution? They almost failed. They were just about to quit. And they asked God to help them. And He did. Now, if that bothers you, I'm sorry. That's the truth. That's documented fact in our history books. That's exactly what happened. Every day their meeting started with a prayer asking God to watch over them, to help them work, to form this new nation. And you know what? God did it. He was with them. And they invented the greatest nation, the greatest constitution, the greatest formulation of how a country should operate in the history of the world, our Constitution. And they knew what it would take to build a nation. Now, by the way, this is interesting. Did you know that both houses of our U.S. Congress, even to this very day, they always open their prayer, their sessions with a word of prayer? Think about that. Every day they pray to God to help them, but then so many of them don't even want to really talk about the fact how desperately we need God in our nation. Now, once again, I'm not talking about taking away anybody's freedom of religion or freedom to have no religion. But our founding fathers knew what we needed, who we needed to have a successful country. And a person can choose not to follow that, not to believe it, but it doesn't change the fact. It doesn't change the truth of history. And so many people today are just throwing away the truth of history. Now, it doesn't mean everything in our history is something to be bragging about. But so often, most people don't have the facts straight. And we're telling our kids really untrue stories when we start talking about so many things in America that we want to tear down. When we talk about all the statues and all the things we want to destroy. These people that are doing this, honestly, they don't know what they're talking about. And it's too bad. Now, remember I told you that there were going to be 10 off-track points. Here's the point, and then we're finished. Off-track point 1. How is it that Congress prays every day to God for His special guidance, but prayer is forbidden in our schools? If Congress believes that prayer is vital to the success of their task, why don't they also believe that prayer is vital for the success of our children in our public schools? Wow. Here's what I think. When prayer was taken out of our schools became a playground for Satan and his evil. And so many things have started in the schools. And I believe the very biggest reason why is because the leaders of our schools and our nation have done their best to push God out of our schools. Now, if this mentioning of God in America by our founding fathers makes you mad or upset, so be it. But the historical truth is there for all to read. And because our founding fathers sought God's help in America, He helped them. And today, America is the greatest and most successful nation in the world. And that, folks, is no coincidence or accident. It's because God helped us. So, to end the chapter, here's my question. At the rate we're going today, and the direction that we are taking in our nation today, just how long will America continue to be a great nation? 100 years? 10 years, 1 year, or already, almost finished? Is our greatness almost gone? I'd like to hear what you think. Just get back with me. My email address, jerrystewartusa@gmail.com. God bless you all. Have a great time today. Don't let any firecrackers get too close to you when you shoot them off. And don't forget, one other thing, fly your flag. Fly your flag. Fly your flag. If I can get it up here. And most important, pray for our America. Be like the founding fathers and pray that God helps us. God bless you. See you next time.